So I wanted to talk a little bit about overreacting today. You know, those scenarios where something happened or somebody said something, did something, we got really irritated and then we overreact. Almost always makes you feel guilty afterwards. I don't think anybody's proud of themselves when they overreact to a situation. And it's kind of frustrating because a lot of times it keeps happening and you can't always control it. But in order to understand overreaction better, we first have to understand reaction. Somebody does something or says something that is uncomfortable for us. The senses then send a signal to the brain, and in that split second, the brain decides how to react. When we overreact, a lot of times the brain goes into a fight or flight mode where it feels threatened and then it reacts from a place of survival, from protecting its existence. Why is it overreacting? Because a lot of times the fight or flight is not very justified. So why does our brain sometimes make the wrong decision? Our brain is like a computer. It's got a certain database of memories and experiences that we've been through. And so when something happens around us, the way we analyze what had happened and the way we draw conclusions is by those signals going to the database and analyzing, okay, what just happened and how do I feel about it? And then boom, how do I react? So the question is really, when that sensory information went to the brain, did the brain find anything in the existing catalog that alerted it? So I'll give a really simple but also very extreme example of somebody telling you I love you. If you've experienced love on a positive scale in your life, then I guess when someone says I love you, ideally you will be filled up with warm and fuzzy feeling and just feel super loved. But if you grew up with an unstable parent, abused for whatever reason, and then the parent would feel bad and go, oh, I love you, the word I love you might not have the same meaning to you as it does to a lot of other people. If you've been touched the wrong way and somebody that you love the most would touch you in a certain way, you might just find yourself jumping and they would not understand where the reaction comes from, because to them that's love and to you that's connected with something completely different. And then if the other person would ask them, well, why did you say that, or why did you yell, or why did you react that way, they would say, oh, you made me do it. Well, that doesn't really apply, and you can prove that, because if you've lined up 10 people and then have that person say the same thing to them or raise their voice at them, each single person would have a different reaction. That is based on their existing database. People who have not experienced anything similar in the past, they would just react in their own different way that wouldn't probably be overreacting, which means that one person's actions cannot cause one absolute reaction. If you chose to react a certain way, that's because something that they said pushed a point, put you in a fight or flight, triggered and agitated those specific points of your vulnerability where you feel unsafe, insecure, or helpless. Then you would get angry and upset much more than any other person. Overreacting can be a good thing if you decide to turn it into something positive. It can be a bit tricky, but it's definitely doable. Because those experiences are usually revolving around fear and shame. Anxiety and vulnerability are always emotions that we like to push down. It is likely that when you sit down and try to analyze what had happened and why you got so upset, or what did that action trigger inside of you, you might not be able to remember with your cognitive, conscious, daily active mind. This is exactly when we use subconscious therapy, techniques like guided meditation, guided imagery, dream analysis, hypnosis, NLP, and other techniques that help communicate with your gray cells, with your subconscious, with everything that's going on behind and that you've forgotten long ago. So I think in general, try to remember that overreacting is based on real, raw, true emotions, and you can look at it as a positive thing because it enables you to look into a situation in your life and find out what's going on there and release some of those emotions that may be kind of buried. But in order to do that, there's a little bit of work that needs to be done. So since I've done lots of different techniques of working with the subconscious, both treating other people and being treated, please feel free to ask questions below and I'll do my best to answer your questions. And in the meantime, have a beautiful evening.